in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity. Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.
Word 'em up, word 'em up, word 'em up. I believe I can be heard, even though I don't see the little bubble around my head. If you can hear me, let us go ahead and get a 1 in the chat. Or let me check over here on YouTube, where, oh yes, I do see the bubble. I see the bubble bubbling. Shout out to Aaron B. Shout out to Snuggles in the building early. Chuku Igwe always holding it down. Shout out to you. As a matter of fact, I think you, the Igbo gentleman, has earned yourself a moderator status, 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Case Closed, your weekly panel show, where every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, we talk about a topical issue, something that's interesting that cuts across politics, economics, and the social happenings, something that is trending. And today we're going to be talking about SYSBM, okay, save yourself, black man, versus a pushback on it, which is SYCBM, okay? And we have a star-studded panel for you today, okay, as usual. We got a star-studded panel, and we're just getting started with 3. There'll be more trickling in as we go ahead. How's it going, LAR?
It's great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Still in Africa, holding it down. The internet is pulling through indeed, but I can't have the camera on because it'll all come crashing down. So, and we have the black screen of Kaizoran Empire, aka Massage Noir, aka the Troll. It keeps on using many faces and many names. And just causing disturbance.
Hey man, I'm the black male feminist according to the Manosphere. So shout out to
there
me.
You go, man. Shout out to you indeed. Okay, so before we get right into it, I wanted to put some context, and by context I mean let's go to some sources. I'm not sure exactly. I went and I typed in tenets of the SYSBM, right? I'm not sure how authentic this is, right? But from my understanding of SYSBM, this is quite illustrative of what they are about. Now, there are 23 tenets here, and Ike's rule states that before I even read this, I know they're going to be redundant. There is no 23 tenets of anything. Okay, there's no such thing as 23 tenets of anything. A lot of this is going to be repeat, and no shade to the person who wrote this, but it's just my own personal pet peeve with lists. I was talking to someone today about a hypothetical list that says, 15 ways to improve your golf swing. It's like, no, it's probably only 2 ways that you can boil down to. But anyways, if we look at this, tenet number 1 says, SYSBM, the movement, philosophy, and lifestyle originated, created, and founded by Mad Bus Driver, okay, is not about saving the black community. So right there, tenet number 1 brings us to the point of the show, because there's an idea of save the community. And SYSBM says, save yourself. Tenet number 1 says, it is not about saving the community. As far as we are concerned, continuing reading, the black community is dead. Okay. And black women were the ones who killed it. Okay. They had to add that part in there. I don't think it matters who killed it, but I guess it does matter with regards to, what is to then be done. right? And by the way, as I've mentioned before, Black women are the Black community. Okay, Black men, on the other hand, in their eyes, are not considered to be part of the Black community. The Black female looks upon them as outside help to forward her agenda and her agenda alone. Okay, let me just see number 2. I'm going to just look at these smattering to see if we SYSBM recognize to exclude Black. This is redundant. Okay, I think that from number one would assume that you're excluding, right? What is number 3? SYSBM is all about expanding. Okay, yeah, so this just kind of goes further. I think I would suspect that everything you can know about SYSBM is already implied in number 1, and everything else would just be an elaboration. Part 3 here is talking about something akin to being a passport bro, right? To go out there and find high quality women wherever you can find them in order to found, as if you will, your future. And then as stated concerning MGTOW, just kind of separating itself from some other groups, MGTOW, SYSBM, and IBMOR, though there may be similarities. Lifestyles, Now, so LAR, let's start with this here. Okay, let's start with this. Do you think that the Black community is dead in any way, shape, or form that you can come up with? In other words, what do you think about item number 1 here? It just says, hey, we're not saving the Black community. As a matter of fact, Black community is dead. Women are the community, and you're just outside help. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, first, what's going on, everybody? Second, it's SYSBM. That's the one that they don't have it doesn't come off as an acronym. IBMOR and MGTOW acronyms, they don't do the acronym really.
So it's not SYSBM, it's SYSBM. Yeah. Okay.
So the other thing about the community, it's struggling. It's alive, but it's struggling. SYSBM is more so just take your time and energy to actually save yourself, because nobody's going to do that for you in our struggling community. So that's, the bulk of it is just, stop making sacrifices for people who won't make a sacrifice for you. And that just goes with the community in totality.
All right. So White Jesus, what are your thoughts about number 1 there? It's about not about saving the community. The community is dead. The community is women, and men are just outside help. Any thoughts on it? Just the tenet itself.
Yeah. So Black men used to come to my church, but now that's stopped. It's mostly Black women. So if even where the morality stems from, right, is headed by Black women, of course the community is dead, because it's now being led by the single Black female, and there is less discipline in the community, right? Female rhetorics keep being pushed forward, such as, well, it's okay, you can no more preaching against premarital or pre-long-term relationship, joining children, stuff like that. Things are no longer being preached and then also maintained by Black men. So yes.
Okay. So the order is out of the community, and hence, and this is why I asked the poll. Okay, let me ask you, LAR, and also White Jesus. It says here, true or false? Men are about order primarily. That's the first thing, right? And then community is simply a byproduct of order. And from what Kaizo said here, that the order is out of the community, hence the community is perhaps struggling or dying. That's probably one of the reasons. But what do you think about this this poll here in general that says, men, generally speaking, are about order. Community is just a byproduct, that men are not sitting here clamoring for community, right? And that you don't have community without order, but once you get the order, then you can have community. Community just comes along for the ride. What are your thoughts on that, NDR?
The order starts in the home. The structure starts in the home. So the problem winds up being that we're really looking for a community to make order and structure outside of the home for people who didn't want order and structure inside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to work.
So you think that there's still no desire for that kind of family order and structure. In other words, even so that there never has been, and perhaps there still isn't, even amongst the people who may want to save it or who may be looking for community, their idea of community is not, starting with the cell of the community, which is the order in the home. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Their approach is, I want order everywhere I go, but not at home. And you wind up bringing disorder everywhere you go because you don't have order at home.
What do you think about that, White Jesus?
Okay, I mean, does order begin at home? From an individualistic perspective, yes, but then, are the homes run? Okay, look, in the Bible, I don't want to sound like Dr. Thunder here, but it states that God is head, and then it's Jesus, me, and then it's the man, and then it's the woman and then the children. So there's order. So if that's the case, right? Yes, order does begin at home for a family structure, but that man has to take order for something else that's greater than himself, and that's where the community comes from, which is now the general congregation of men. And if there is no general congregation of men, there is no agreed. Okay, what's a community, right? I can give you context here. So I'm in Africa right now. Over here, there is a Maasai community. They meet together. The elders meet together. They come and then they solve a problem, be it marriage or someone has got one of the girls pregnant. It's forcing the man to pay certain dowries or whatever. There is order. There is a congregation of elders. That's a community. Same thing with other communities. But when there's a community of black people who don't actually meet under any sort of real order, apart from fighting white supremacy, that to me, I don't believe that's order, right? You have the Muslims, they meet with the Quran, the men is still in charge. You have the Jews, so the ultra-Orthodox Jews, they also do the same thing where they have a certain order and structure. So everyone else has the structures, orders. Unfortunately for us, we don't have it. And yes, some of it obviously reverberates through the home, right? But the issue is you still need a general congregation of well-to-do men who are ordered, structured. But for us, it seems like families, certain families are controlling things, but then when it comes looked at the general scape, it's gynoscopy, right?
Gynoscopy. Okay. Sounds like a tube going in somewhere. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got Dr. Thunder clickety-clacketing something in there. So you driving one of your numerous rental cars ever since you had that. How's it going, Dr. Thunder?
I'm all right. It's only the second rep car, man.
Only the second. Okay. So I read something. I want you to
just got
go ahead. I don't know if you've been listening.
World premiere. Pretty cool stuff. So
is I think your audio is
it's very weak.
Your audio is weak. You're far from the mic, and something like that. Something of that nature. And probably also internet. But we will allow you to go ahead and fix that momentarily. But okay, so Kaiser, you landed the plane there on that part with regards to order. So just to reiterate your point there. Okay, yes, sure. Keep talking. Dr. Thunder?
Can't hear anything.
Can't hear anything. Okay, yeah. So to reiterate your point, there has to be a supervening order that above, right, the so-called order in the home, right, and it tends to be coming from somewhere that has power, right. You talk about the Council of Elders, and ultimately there is a kind of a order, platonic order out there, the good, the true, and the beautiful, God, if you will, right? But that is also that has to be instantiated and held in place by some kind of a power structure, right? And the powerful men in the community, in the Maasai community, as you said, the Council of Chiefs, or let's say it's a church community, or it's the Sikh community in some temple somewhere, right? That transcendental order comes down to earth. Go ahead.
To reverberate Bernard Riley's point, when I debated him, he said that in Black America, the woman has just as much equal rights as a man, to do what she wants. So black men can't force them to do anything. So if there's no soft power through community excommunication as a form of, punishment practice, and that community doesn't actually exist. For example, let me give you an example. Some in Africa, some tribes, if you don't marry someone from that same tribe, you don't do certain things, you have children outside of wedlock, you're excommunicated. Like there is actual real shame that's given. And of course, you have grown up in this community. It's a real thing that exists, right? That people practice certain things. Also, money, helping each other to build money. They have these things called chama where, people come together, they put like $100 a month each, and then every month they give the full pot to someone. So imagine there's like 20 people, every month someone gets 2K, right? It's like a saving practice. There's real consequences to you not being part of these communities. So Bernard's point is that Black America, black men have just as much rights under the law, if not more policies that actually benefit them. So there is no.
What do you think about that, or do you think that's just an excuse? What I mean by that is there are other communities in America where women have the same laws, right? The same rules.
No. The difference with the other communities is they are actual communities. The Black community is not a community. That's the difference. It's just part of America. So yeah, the other communities have that community, that soft power where they can communicate someone. There's a real thing you're missing out by not being part of the community. I could go, if for example, I have let's say I'm part of a Muslim Islamic community, right? I'm part of the Sudanese community. The Sudanese community, if I go around other Sudanese communities within America, if I show that I have that child out of wedlock, or even two of them, or even let's say two baby daddies, I won't be accepted. Like people always talk behind my back. I will just not be accepted in that community, regardless where I go. But if you're Black American, you've had a bad show in 25th and 6th Street in New York, you can go anywhere else. No one knows. No one cares. It's as in no one cares because there's no tenants holding what community is for them. They're just American.
Okay, so LAR,
by the way.
Oh, you're back. You're parked. It seems. Now, Dr. Thunder, I'm going to give you two rapid fire type opportunities to respond. The first one is the first tenet of SYSBM, which says that SYSBM is not about saving the Black community. As far as we are concerned, I'm quoting now, the Black community is dead. And the Black women were the ones who killed it. It then further goes on to say that the Black women are the community and Black men are just seen as outside help. So what do you think about that statement? Number one, not about saving the community. I think that part is kind of obvious. But that is what that's the juxtaposition that we're having today, the community versus saving yourself. And that the community is dead. Men are not part of it. Men are just outside help. What are your responses to that part of the first tenet of the SYSBM?
Yeah, so that's tough. Basically, I agree. I basically agree with that. I talk a lot about the vertical order of protection, and that is God over man, man over wife, wife over children. And in that vertical order, everyone is protected. Everyone is protected. For whatever reason, it doesn't occur to the women in our community that complain about being the most unprotected, that in most respects they have either exchanged the role of the man for the state, or they have disproportionately broken their homes. 80% of the divorces in the Black community are filed by the women. So it seems strange for the women to both complain about being the most underprotected, but then also be the ones chiefly that are responsible for that lack of protection. As that relates to our community, if our women will not submit to their husbands, and if men do not have a significant position of authority within the community, then it is not a community at all to the point that that Kaizo was making earlier. It is not a community at all. BGS calls it the gynocracy. And in that respect, it already is dead because it does not function like any other so-called community. So I'm conflicted on this point because I don't like the idea that the community is dead, that it's not worth saving, as it were. Someone said something. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been one of the comments in one of my live streams, and probably the stream I did on Friday, where I was talking about SYSBM, SYSCBM, SYCBM and some other things. But they said something about, no, the Black community cannot be saved. However, perhaps we can salvage. Perhaps there are individuals within the community that can be salvaged. Those that are willing to acknowledge wrongdoing and then the willingness to reform, repentance, as it were, to rethink how things are. But in mass, unfortunately, yes, the Black community is dead, and largely it's the lack of submission by our women because they were given a better option, as it were, an option where they could maintain their independence but still get a check.
Got it. And I like that you said that it seems strange that they would complain. It seems strange, but it's not really strange because after all, they're women, right? And what they so I mean, they do perceive that they're unprotected, and they're going to complain about it because they're going to ignore the fact that So now you already agreed with this, but I have a poll here that says, okay, it says true or false. Men are primarily about order, and community is simply a byproduct of order. If the men are not there with the order, there's not going to be any community, and that men are not out here clamoring for community when you can't have the order. But what are your thoughts about this thing here? Men are primarily about order, not community.
You have a tribe that's matriarchal. No, they don't exist for a reason. It's because order, patriarchy, the men together, they formulate these councils of elders. They go hunting together. They have like specific goals and consequences. They set up a military faction. So the difference between how men in a natural state, of course, women can learn this, right? But we're talking about natural systems and states because that's the easiest to maintain across time because they have the least energetic cost to them. So in general, there are no matriarchal systems that are functional because men by nature, the order, they like to be ordered. They come together, they have specific goals, outcomes. Let's go hunt. We want to eat meat today. Okay, how many men do we need? That's where the logistics comes in. Women, unfortunately, they're great at partitioning the hunting, the spoils of the war. They're good at partitioning and making sure everyone gets an equal amount, or they're great middle managers. But when it comes to leadership, you need clear order, clear structure, and clear outcomes. So for example, let's say if there was a Black American community, men would have to be at a certain level. There would have to be a certain kind of caliber that's been decided by, again, these other men of how men and women should be. And if that's the case, there's a real community, there's a real, for example, really, I would suggest that Black Americans just become a tribe like the rest of us. Because if I go back to my tribal areas, right, I can compare Africa since I'm there right now. If I go back to the North people don't have kids out of wedlock. It never happens because of all the stuff I just mentioned. Legally, can they do it? Of course they can, but the consequences of them not being part of that community is too great. Now, if you come to Nairobi is a lot like Black America. You have women all right, left, center, and again, it tends to be Christian women. The Muslim women don't have this issue. And I'll give one final example, right? And this one might be a little bit too abstract, but
you mean Protestants?
Right. Yes, correct. Yes, 100%. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. It's Protestants, right? So if you compare, let's say, the number of HIV in Africa, right? highest levels is all the way down South Africa, the highest concentration of Protestants, right? Then it keeps reducing as it goes up into East and North and West Africa. Why? Because there's a lot of Islamic, or let's just say more hardcore Orthodox Christianity. Literally, it reaches 25% in South Africa. It reaches 4% in Kenya, which again has a Muslim split. And then by the time you get to Somalia, it's like 0 point something percent. You go to Ethiopia, 1% again, because the Christian, Islamic, hardcore, Orthodox, Protestant mix, etc. So the point here is, if you're going to build a community, certain things will not fly in certain communities because there is consequences. You know, you have to be able. Right now, the only issue we have is shaming. We can't shame Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray is going to be like, you know what, screw this. Yes, I do like slinging my axe and creating new chips.
All right. I've heard that one before, but you're preaching Dr. Thunder's message there. I had to come in and make sure I correct you on the Protestant thing. Don't just go throwing Christianity under the bus. But Dr. Thunder, when you say you are conflicted, then so you agree that you haven't answered. You didn't get a chance to answer the question in terms of what men are primarily about is the order, right? And but if you are craving community when there is no order, where's the source of this conflict? Or is it just, sentiment, which is fine?
Can you reframe? Because I want to make sure I'm
answering the right question. You say you are conflicted about the community being dead and not worth saving, but you also agree that this is as a man, what you're looking for is order. Community is simply a byproduct. If there's no order, where's the source of your conflict? Why are you conflicted? Unless it's just sentiment or sentimental, which is fine, but I'll put it in your own words.
So my confliction is the collateral damage. Okay, it's those that are caught up in the collateral damage. Those that are the collateral damage. Okay, and because babies. What about the children? Babies don't choose. You don't choose who your parents are. You don't choose what community you belong to. You don't choose what school you go to. You don't choose. There's a long list of things that you don't choose. And by the time you are able to make choices, you can be so far down, heading in the wrong direction, then it makes it like virtually impossible for you to, make anything of yourself. It's one of the reasons why I describe myself as having had an unfair advantage. When I say unfair advantage, I'm saying it's the ideal advantage. It's the ideal scenario where my parents are still together and my father was skilled in the area that I am skilled in. So it's the right thing. It's what's supposed to happen. It shouldn't be an unfair advantage. It should be the common thing. But we know that in our community, that's just not what happens. En masse, that is not what happens. Such a small percentage of us have that sort of situation. And so that's why I describe it as being an unfair advantage. Most folks, they're so far down the road heading in the wrong direction that it is really next to impossible for them to right the ship, right? And so when I say I'm conflicted, it is the collateral damage. It's those that didn't choose this and have inherited it. And wanting and wishing, hoping, praying, desiring for them to even possibly be some sort of solution for that problem. For the people
Pause right there, because we're going to get to what you just said there, hoping, wishing, praying, some sort of a solution. We'll get right there. And I'm going to get there through this line of questioning. LAR, is there anything right now that you're doing for the community? That you said the community is struggling, it's on life support, or if it's a boxer, it's all caught up in that pen that they used for gluing up the wound has been brought up many times, and he's gotten a few shots of the EpiPen and all that kind of stuff. What are you doing, LAR, if anything, to save this community that Dr. Thunder described, right? These babies out there. Are you doing anything? Are you muted, LAR, or you're just taking a break?
I was muted. Run that last part by me again. I'm sorry.
What are you doing, if anything, to help out with the community, the collateral damage that, or the people whom would face the collateral damage that Dr. Thunder just described, talking about the babies born out of wedlock. Let's go back to our conversation last week. The 82% of unwed births out there in Chicago. What are you doing to help those babies?
As ODB said in the Wu-Tang Clan, nothing.
Okay, this is worthy of note, and I'll let you continue because LAR is one of the most, shall we say, community-minded person. Okay, that at least the way I perceive you, I hear you speaking, and you're saying you're not doing anything. Go ahead.
No, well, what winds up happening is when you get involved with the community, right? You're one of those kids who grow up wanting things to be done for the kids. You grow up to become an adult. You have kids. You wind up with this disorder, not of that's in a lot of our households where the single mother disorder. Then you start going into the community to help the kids. And what winds up happening is those mothers, if you get too much influence on the kids and the mothers don't have any influence over you, they take the kids again. So you wind up at a okay, it's not just I'll walk away because I don't like it. It's nothing you can do. Because if you can't do it with the kids in your house and you can't do it with the kids in your community, what are you left with at that point?
Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to come to you, Dr. Thunder, right? What are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I have that, kind of each one teach one sort of philosophy. I'm willing to share information with those that show that they're worthy of the information, and those that are actually have real interest, So I do that. I know
these are the people who are in proximity to you in your ivory tower, Dr. Thunder. You're not reaching down to the babies in Chicago.
Well, yes, you're right about that. I didn't wife up a single mother, if that's what you're if that is what you're suggesting. But yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. At one point I was involved with the sort of what is it, the Big Brother, Big Sister, and something else that I do is I am I'm tireless and relentless in advocating for Black men and boys, and the way that takes shape, and the way that the rubber touches the road on that is I'm pretty aggressive recruiting, black students, as much as I can. I also tend to, try to support, Black stuff, as it were, artistic stuff, stuff that kids are doing, community oriented kinds of programming and all that kind of stuff. So that's, and I'm involved at church and people see me playing and the kids come up and I try to spend some time whenever I can. So that's basically what I'm doing. But in another manner of speaking, I'm not particularly going out of my way to do any of this stuff. So all of this stuff is within my sort of sphere. So I interact with people along the way, as it were.
Mhm.
I'm not going to inner city or anything like that
Mhm.
to spend time with with kids or something like that.
Good, good, good.
And then I'll say the other thing, because there's a principle here. There's a principle here, and that is, people, they'll ask me, like, you go through a Wendy's and they give you this option to, pay an extra $1 for, for cancer research for kids.
Mhm.
Or, you check out at the gas station and they give you some opportunity to round it up, for, children's hospital or something. Right.
Mhm.
And I always think about this, and it's not that I'm against supporting stuff like that. The best thing that I can do is be a great example for my own son. Right. So instead of giving money to, the bum on the corner, or rounding my check up, I just take that money and I put it towards stuff for my kid.
Mhm. Okay. So you might anticipate where we're building towards here with that question, and then the conflict. What is it worth saving? You talk about hoping and praying for solutions, and because again there's a SYSBM, and then the SYSBM, and then SYCBM, right? And we want to. Well, before we get to there, I keep on messing up on this. Shout out to Kosher Clinician in the building. Thank you very much. Okay. Order over community. Hey, Dr. Thunder, and I thank you very much for the $5 super chat. For those of you who are not familiar with the Kosher Clinician, go out there and check his channel. Always drop in hot fire, regulating good panels out there where there is indeed a lot of order. And also shout out to Solo TV 84 back in the building after a while underground staking Shiba Inu, as he says. SYCBM is Save Your Community, Black Men or Black Man. So before we continue, I wanted you just White Jesus Kaiser over there. You want to comment on what you've heard with regards to LAR saying, "Hey, look, you can't really help these people." I recall seeing a particular video where there was, a group of people trying to help, and they had some I wouldn't call it harsh words, but just real life statements about, "Hey, you women can't be doing this type of stuff." And then there was a lot of pushback, like, "Oh, you can't say it that way." you know that crap, right? So he said, "Oh, you should have told me nicer about how to not be screwing up my kids so much." LAR is giving that seminar that, "Hey, you really can't do anything." And then Dr. Thunder is saying, "Hey, I'm not really gonna go down there, in so many words." What are your thoughts about that, Kaiser?
Yeah, great question. You can't help someone if they aren't receptive for change. So if you try and get involved with something, then of course, if that other thing isn't willing to move forward, I mean, yeah, this whole thing about, oh, you said it the wrong way, it's BS, right? Because if the mess still landed, it lands either way. It's either true or it's not true, or it's relevant or it's not relevant. So how you say things, that's more of a relationship situation. And in relationships, you don't change because something is necessarily good for you. You change because you love the other person, you allow them certain graces. So in that sense, what they're saying is, if you lead me and you're willing to, sort of come into my life and take hold, then I'll change. So in a sense, like, let's say if I'm a black single mother with 3 baby daddies, I want a man to come into my life who's got his shit together. I want him to now lead me forward. And you know what? A woman in that situation, if the guy is, of a certain standard and quality, most likely would submit to him under certain circumstances. So that's what they want. That's what they mean by, how you say situations or thing. You have to get dirty with them. Yeah, you can lead them, right? If you have enough of that sort of power or, performance in that realm, you have to get dirty, right? And of course, if the person isn't even mentally okay or sound, you're gonna have to deal with basically some emotional issues. But in general, helping people in that situation from a brand sort of setting up systems and stuff, it's not gonna change. I agree with LAR, but also in terms of Dr. Thunder, the only issue I have with Dr. Thunder's personal solution is your son will be okay. He'll be brought up, but he brought up to deal with women that are broken. So that may even break him. There's it's a psychology of difference. whereby your son's
Dr.
gonna be.
Thunder's son is going to be a passport bro that's going to marry an Ethiopian. So
Okay.
that's already a foregone
Then there's
conclusion.
there's no issue there. Yeah. Then I think his solution is perfect, right? If it's gonna be a passport, bro, then there's no problem. But the issue is when you're bringing up the man, in a certain way. He's perfection, right? Perfection is not a moral quality. Perfection is just it's a systematic property, meaning if other people have the same quality as you, great, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have a great time. But if everyone else is broken, you will be broken because now you think they're the normal one, so you're wishing or looking from the outside, but you can't get in.
So it would seem, and Dr. Thunder, you're popping in and out. Let me see here. Let me test your audio. Can you hear us, Dr. Thunder? Can you check your microphone? Okay. So we'll let you figure it out. Probably an internet issue. All right. La Original says, never raise another man's kid. Or as Ramil would put
hear
it.
me now?
Yeah,
We can hear it. We can hear you.
Raising another man's kid. Actually, I've dated single mothers before, and actually, I have no issues with it. I would date one again. I have no problem at all.
Yeah, it's all about context in terms of in a place where it's a single mother flood, then you want to get out of it, right?
Right, exactly.
So
why was she a single mother? It's more of the specifics of as a human being. You break down in the situation. She's got 3 baby daddies. No, right? Clearly, there's no 2 different baby daddies. Depends. 1, fine.
So, Dr. Thunder, so it would seem, right, based on your answer, LAR's answer, the elaborations by Kaizo, that this whole what about the children just comes down to getting with Keisha. Is that because here's the crux of why I asked that question. If you say, okay, I'm about the community, right, Dr. Thunder, and you're a man who didn't go out there and do the wrong thing, because after all, SYSBM is about men who are going to avoid the mistakes. They're not doing the wrong thing. They're not out there making single mothers and all that kind of stuff, right? They are going to do what they're going to do, and apparently nothing stops them from, quote unquote, either giving money to the community or whatever. But you were saying that might be foolhardy. It won't even work according to LAR. You could say, hey, I'm going to stay in the community. I'm community oriented, but I'm going to do the right thing, raise a correct family. But you're not going to go down to Chicago to have those kids. So it doesn't seem like SYSBM is doing anything to hurt those kids. And even the community people, it doesn't seem like they're going to do anything to help those kids. So what about the children seems to be, well, get with Keisha. Is that what this is all about at the end of the day, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, I think so. Because unless there are very specific things that are being done, unless you're talking about changing policy, I mean that's something that could actually help. But unless you're talking about actually changing policy or something, yeah, that's pretty much it. Basically, wife up a single mother. That's the way that you can actually help the community. And what sucks is that actually has been something that has been built in as an expectation for Black men, is for them to be willing to wife up a single mother. And this is not to throw single mothers under the bus. This is just to say, what is the best option for Black men? Certainly, we want our daughters to have the best options. How come is it that when we start being more resolute with respect to suggesting that our sons do not wife up single mothers, that now there's some big issue. Now it's a big uproar. Now we're misogynist or something, and now it's what about the kids? Well, we didn't create those kids, and it's not that we don't care about the kids. What it is that you only have so much that you can give. You only have so much time. You only have so much energy. You only have so much resources, and and so you have to spend those laser focused on particular things, or you will have almost zero impact. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to sell out supporting my own kid more than I am going to prioritize, you know, someone that if this, so you wife up a single mother, she decides that she don't want to be with you anymore because, you know, they divorce us 80% of the time. So then not only do you lose the marriage, you also lose the relationship with the kid because the kid was never related to you.
Mhm.
I mean, it's you know, it's inherently problematic, and it sounds cold-hearted and everything, but that's just what it is.
I'm gonna poke at you here for Dr. Thunder. You ended with the cold-hearted thing, and then also in the middle of your sentence, you said it's not like we don't care about the kids. And I'm like, this is a general statement, half troll, but deeply rooted in my personality. Why do you have to mention that you care about them, or not? Like, effectively, you're going to be doing something or not doing something. If somebody cared,
You're
didn't
right.
care, you're just saying you care, but you know what? Okay.
You're right. Look, I think you're right. I think you're right. I do think that part of my statement was sort of hedging against certain, you know, hedging against certain criticisms of the position. So sort of softening, you know, the position. But yes, you're pulling a
Chantel. You're saying you're doing the, you know what I'm talking about. Where you say, oh, like, you know, well, to be clear, when Chantel said, not about debating people, you know, that type of thing, where you're kind of hedging something, you're kind of placating, you know, kind of sandbagging a particular kind of attack, you know. Anyways, shout out to you indeed, and shout out to Solo again.
You know, because I foresee.
Go ahead.
I foresee. I mean, I foresee. I foresee certain challenges. You know, we communicate differently, we hear things differently, we receive things differently, and if there is a woman other than La Original who actually agrees with us, that's listening, that, you know, is kind of like, the sort of typical way that it seems that women tend to hear things, then perhaps it may be possible that it makes it more palatable. It's like putting a little bit of salt on it. So that's all.
Indeed. Okay. So I was shouting out Falcon Black in the building, the self-proclaimed leader of the Black British community. Kaiser, you're no longer in so I don't know if you have any qualms with him proclaiming himself. Maybe he went until you left, and then he took up the reins. Is that what happened, Kaiser? But
yeah.
Anyways,
yeah, he's a real black British man. I'm just a what do you call it? A wandering merchant.
A wandering merchant. Okay, so here is the thing. Okay, SYSBM is a prescription for individual men, based on the tenets that I see here. Okay, and perhaps maybe I could just look at this that says, SYSBM is all about honesty and self-improvement. Self-improvement. The word self is one of the letters in there. Save yourself, right? And as such, they don't want to make the same mistake of, sowing the seed in non-fertile ground, if you will. Hence, the talk of kids and community has nothing to do with these individual men. So would go this particular statement. LER, what do you have to say about that? Like, if somebody comes at a SYSBM person says, oh no, save your community. It's like, well, I'm not out there throwing bombs at the community, what the SYSBM person would say. I keep on calling the SYSBM right there, SYSBM. They'll say, I'm about individual stuff. I'm trying to sow seeds. I'm trying to self-improvement. I'm saying all the stuff that Dr. Thunder would say, but he just perhaps wouldn't, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm practicing Dr. Thunderism. I'm carrying myself the way that Dr. Thunder would hope his son carries himself. So why are you coming at me with this, that I'm throwing grenades in the community? What are your thoughts on that, LER?
I hope I respond properly when I say what I'm about to say. The kids are just a Trojan horse to families of adults who are looking for somebody to bail them out. So what winds up happening is guys are saying, look, save yourself and work on your self-improvement, because even if you could help the kids, guess who you would have to help the family to do so. You get what I'm saying? And then not just the single mother's parents, their siblings. You get what I'm saying? Those kids' cousins and their parents and those other siblings. This is why God said just focus on you, because what's been going on with the community is we associate Black men as failing from saving the community, when we're not associating that the kids that we need to save have a multitude of adults in their life that are not saving themselves or the kid. So how many people and nobody can answer the question, how many people is a Black man supposed to save just individually, but when he can say, okay, I'm done. So that's where I'm coming from.
Gotcha. Kaizo and then Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts as to the individual nature, both written in their tenets and implied in the acronym itself, or, the letters there saying save yourself? And we're saying we're about self-improvement, encouraging Black men to travel, expand their options, sow their seed in fertile ground. And that, why am I being charged, or with some kind of why are you responding to me? If you care about the community, I'm not your problem. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me try to answer it the best way I can, and then guide me back if I steer off too far. I'm a passport bro, right? I left the UK to come out here looking for the fresh African females, right? So I think, look, if you're gonna save yourself, you need to do whatever it is that's gonna make your life better, right? Whether it works or not, it's irrelevant. It's about the journey. But okay, so I would also want to add something here. It's not answering your question, sorry, but I thought it's important. We're kind of stuck at this sort of going back between taking us back to more of a tribalistic sort of pre-Protestant Islam Orthodox sort of way, whereby there are certain rules and structures within the concept of community. We're, however, not going to go backwards. That's just not going to happen, right? There's another force. The path of least resistance is, the one that's going to be taken forward, which is secularism. So if you're in Black America, you are American. The state is your order structure. The only way I can see, like an easy method forward, easier, should I say, is actually that at the highest level, Black men and even women start thinking of policies that can actually work with what we have right now. Meaning we need to stop relying on this whole the effect of single motherhood. Those are effects, but those are not necessary consequences of single motherhood, like high rape, high crime, all that kind of stuff, or low psychological whatever development. These are just consequences because of the system has always been the case that it was better with two people. But you can do things to circumvent those things with proper policies. For example, like I mentioned earlier, my great woman, I forgot her name, but yeah, she's a Black Indian woman who is in the UK, who made kids from really dusty Black areas go from, basically having failed to being one of the best schools in the country. And I mean like top 10 in the whole country, getting amazing grades, like, from regions with really dusty
Let
kids.
me guess, she instituted order.
Exactly. Right. So the point here is we're not going to move backwards, right? We're not going to get like relationships to work again. That's just not going to happen. The ones who can will go abroad, find a good submissive woman who's going to add value to them. That's the only way you're going to find a woman. But when it comes to like the community at large, making sure that we're competing with other groups, because, we like to compare each other to other groups. The only way I see it forward is actually people, Black men and women like her. That school's called Michaela Academy in the UK, right? It's Black men or Black women like her actually setting up these schools and having order. Not this, we're teaching Black first. No, that's all stupid. If you don't have something strong and stringent behind it, it's not going to work, because the main thing really is not whether it's Black first or not. It's whether there's order. And yes, you can focus on Black communities, but that's why I say the policies may have to come in. So what you might have to do is just import whatever education, employ people like her to help you design a school, or maybe even manage it, and then create like a large network of schools like that who are part of this elite class of schools. There's obviously again the way Harvard and all the other schools do it, whereby descendants of those kids or people who are associated get some alumni benefits, etc. That's the only way I see it. I actually see it as you're fixing your community with the superstructure, because we're not going to go backwards. The individual black man will save himself and will go, to, I guess some of these men want to go to Ethiopia, find themselves some nice Habesha, raw meat eating woman, but the rest of them are going to struggle in America, and it is what it is. But the only way to fix this problem is superstructure with postmodernism.
Okay, so Dr. Thunder, this is not a direct question what we're commenting on right now. More throwing some kind of a comment and asking you to respond, a la Glenn Lowry style here. I'm saying that a lot of the tenets of SYSBM here are not things that you would disagree with, even from just like a purely individual perspective, saying about self-improvement, agency, expanding options, and such. And that also SYSBM SYSBM is concerned primarily with the individual. It's not, it seems to me, some kind of a, shall we say, broad-based community type, let's break up the community thing, It's just saying, hey, individual black men, here are ways to kind of help yourself. So do you think that the pushback of the SYCBM is warranted? Like, these are not the people whom are killing the community. In a certain type of way, if you're trying to save the community, right, some of this SYSBM people might actually be good allies in a kind of way, right? In a kind of way. Because, for example, SYSBM gets his stuff together. He goes out there, he's successful out there in the world somehow. And you might come to him and say, hey, donate to such and such charity for the babies, right? And as you said in one of your statements, it's not that necessarily these people don't care about babies. They might even help, but they're taking a more individualistic point of view. And but what are your thoughts about this? The SYSBM is not necessarily the enemy of the community, insofar as they're not making some kind of organized push to destroy the community, right? If I'm making sense, go ahead and comment.
Yeah, SYSBM are not trying to destroy the community. They're just acknowledging the true state of the community, and then conducting their affairs accordingly. It is what is it? What does it say in the Bible? It's vain to kick against the pricks. You can't keep hitting your head up against the wall and expect something different to happen. And if the expectation is that the folks that actually can make something of themselves continue to accept much less than what it is that they can get, to get bad deals, to continue to sign on the dotted line for bad deals, just because in some way that's going to, in some way that I'm not altogether clear about. I'm not sure how that actually improves the black community, because if you're signing up for a bad deal, you're not only ensuring that you yourself will be drugged down lower, but it is likely that that situation will not work out. That scenario will not work out. You collaborating with folks that you normally wouldn't collaborate with, or collaborating with people that are not as professional, don't have as much experience, whatever. It's not going to work out. It's not going to be beneficial. It's going to drag you down with the rest of the folks, and then you won't be able to truly help someone, that actually could have really received something positive from you. It's this whole thing, and it reminds me of the Chantel's interview with Alan Obi last week, counting today as the first day of this week, right? So this past Thursday is when that interview was. And a lot of folks have had some sort of their take on it. And, I did my own video on Friday morning and everything. But one thing I thought was interesting was, so you have these individuals that are able to bootstrap it, as it were, get themselves out of the community, or elevate themselves. They came from the community, but they've been able to achieve something at a different level. And if you gather all of the folks that have been able to do that, and then they collaborate, that's one thing. And that would actually be beneficial. And this is something that she mentioned as a sort of side issue at one point. That's actually basically what Black folks do. The folks that are of means, people, black folks of quality. That's what they're doing. They try to find other Black folks that have a similar outlook, that have, they've achieved at a certain level, they've been able to avoid or conquer certain aspects of dysfunction that tend to drag us down, right? That's the tendency. But the problem is that the dysfunction in our community has reached every economic strata and has thoroughly polluted. So it's not just a poor thing. It's not just an urban thing. It's not just a middle class thing. It's not just upper middle class. It's rich, filthy rich, billionaires, everyone, all Black folks, especially those that are talking all that Black community stuff. There's a profound level of dysfunction and expectation for people that are of quality to act as though, their value is nothing. Just exchange their value for nothing. That just doesn't seem, I don't know what problem that solves. It seems like it creates a problem, but it doesn't seem like it solves any problems.
This is interesting. I got the sense in that interview, and I listened to it as well, that Alan, and he's just a representative of a particular type of talk that happens where people are not actually interested in doing anything or something that is actionable, right? They use words like community and nuance and balance, and it also reminds me of Hafiz. And it's you can't we have Vivica Fox, but how did Vivica Fox get there? We have to talk about these things: slavery, Jim Crow, redlining. And it's just like it's like some crazy chant or that people do, some kind of mindless ritual. But it's like, okay, then what, right? Then what? Okay, X percentage of kids are gonna do what, go where, how many dollars, like what? Like I never heard any what. It's always about balance of blame and stuff like. Go ahead.
I get
Here,
it.
let me jump in real quick, just real quick, and then I'll let you rock. But I think one thing that was interesting is, because I interviewed both Chantel and Alan, okay, and on my Conversations with Dr. Thunder series, and now on those interviews, on those conversations, it's not confrontational. So I'm not trying to catch people in there, that's a logical fallacy. I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. It's just we're talking. I give them plenty of rope, talk about what you want to talk about, that kind of thing. And then we find points of interest, and we'll park it there for a bit. And I interviewed Chantel twice. The second interview, I was a little more edgy with her, and sort of cross-examined on a couple points. In Alan's conversation, it was clear to me that
Alan is not a someone put a comment on my video from this past Friday saying it says something when someone that is anti-manosphere likes your video. So there's a number of issues that I have with that rather ambiguous statement. I think that they were because Alan commented on my video, that somehow that you know, I'm a saboteur. I'm collaborating. You know, I'm a traitor. I'm collaborating with the enemy or something, which is interesting because I'm willing to talk to everybody. And if people actually get on my channel, they'll see that I've interviewed quite a few people that actually were you could categorize as anti-manosphere. But Alan is not anti-manosphere. He's not anti-manosphere. So he agrees with many of the points that get made with regularity. He wants to see men get a better deal. He thinks that, you know, in large part, women have been very much responsible for a lot of the dysfunction in the dating market and a lot of the dysfunction in the Black community. So he's willing to do that, and he does do that. As a matter of fact, in his interview series, this Kevin Samuels started this conversation interviews. It's very obvious because he cross-examines the women, and he brings up many of the points that are regularly made in the manosphere, right? So I don't know that his position really is a pure defender of this communita per se. I don't think
so at all.
Is a bit more nuanced than that.
My criticism is
I just wanted to say that, and I wasn't saying that you were saying that. Yeah. I wasn't saying that you were saying that. I wanted to make that clear because I think that this has become a sort of, he is now the avatar for the communita, and then in this discussion, she was the avatar for SYSBM. But I don't think that's really what was happening. I think that the conversation was maybe not as productive as it could have been, especially towards the second half of it. But both of them agree on probably about 90% of the stuff. It's just there are some other things in there. So anyhow, that I just wanted to say that. Okay.
LAR, you were going to jump in there after I made a comment, because my quibble is with regards to action and actionable. There's a lot of stuff that's not actionable. I don't want to hear crap about history and ancient scrolls and shit. Like okay, then what, right? It's my personality, my deal, right? I get it, okay, but it is what it is, because I think it's just too many. There's a proliferation of these type of and that's why I said it's a representative of a particular type of thing that goes on, and it doesn't matter which community in YouTube, whether it be the African sphere or the whatever. There's just like people who sit around and they just talk about things where there are no levers, there's no button to push, there's no next step, there's nothing. It seems to be that whole people say things like in political talk, for example, we need to come to terms with. It's like, what the hell does that mean? We need to sit down and just keep on talking about it. We all have to come to terms with the fact that white supremacy, or we all have to come to terms with the fact. What does that mean? Anyways, LER, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I hate to be it's about history, brother, but what you wind up having what we're adults living in at this particular point is a multi-generational thing where you have people who did make sacrifices, and they sacrificed and helped people who made sacrifices for others, but they also sacrificed for people who are completely selfish. So what you're seeing is a crossroads and an impasse between two groups of people. One group that says, what are you going to do for the community? And another group that says, F you. Because the people who normally says, what are you going to do for the community, are the people who actually got help and people did sacrifice for them, but they chose not to help anybody, and they just chose to be selfish, and they blew their opportunities because of it. So you're seeing the other group of people like, listen, people have already invested in you. You just didn't do anything with it. So now you're looking at a group like, okay, those people over there are not going to do anything for the community. And they're like, yeah, I'm not doing anything for you. I know you. I know your type. I know what you're trying to do with your kids and your other family members saying, you know, we need help. No, truth be told, you blew all of your help. Why would I help you if I watched you blow 10, 20 years of help? Because I know what that looks like, because in that same multi-generational thing, we've seen people blow 10, 20 years of help and then use their kids to blow another 10 years of help and then leave their kids holding the bag. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a separation pretty much, you know, the idea of the cream of the crop type of situation. I'll help you, but the caveat is I'm going to help you when you actually rise out of the situation with the losers that you're with. Because I know they'll drag you down just to get themselves something to eat that night.
So, Kaizo, perhaps you can help me out here.
If I can jump in again, I'd also say this, though Chantel was the sort of the avatar, the representative of SYSBM, she herself, actually, she says that the reason that she did the fitness stuff was because she wanted to help Black women, right? So that's doing something to help the Black community, as it were. And then also, in her content, on her sort of red pill content, she says that the reason that she's doing that is because she wants Black women, younger girls, not to make the same mistakes that she made. So it's interesting that the representative in that discussion of SYSBM perhaps is actually doing some actionable, actual stuff, to actually save the Black community, while also making the argument, the arguments in favor of save yourself. So I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah, because and I like that you mentioned that, because I was bringing up the idea of, look, these people could be your allies if you're like a community person, right? And whom is actually looking for, again, levers, buttons to push, deals to make. You would come, and I'm going to ask you now, Kaizo, maybe you can, because I'm just triggered here because I get sick and tired of non-actionable crap, right? I'm all about getting ish done, right? So it's like somebody comes to the table and says, okay, cool, you're in this team over here. You're in this team over here. I see what your team's concerns are. I see these various planks of your platform. As a matter of fact, I think, okay, that I agree with you. And as a matter of fact, I think we can trade a couple of platforms here. I'm going to do this thing for the next 3 years, and you can help me in this way. Maybe we can reconvene later, blah, blah, blah. These are actionable things, as opposed to, oh, no, it's just, it's balance, and it's this, and then redlining, and Jim Crow, or how did Vivica Fox become Vivica Fox? You can't just blame all women. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like I don't see anything by way of objectives, goals, steps, deal making, of the sort that Dr. Thunder just talked about, like actual politics, real politique, if you will. But Kaizo, can you help out here to kind of elaborate, perhaps in general, or use an example in terms of what I mean by this actionable versus let's just keep on talking about things at a high level and be very nuanced about it. But there are no levers, no buttons, no spades, no nothing, no tools. I can't do anything. I'm just in a fog.
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying that whenever you're in any kind of congregation of people, not everyone has the same goal or mindset as you, meaning even if there's a title, we're here to talk about the effects of slavery and then catch up, doesn't mean everyone's there to catch up. the catch-up part. Maybe they're only there to talk about the effects of slavery. And if that's the case, then you have to basically shun
Too
those
much
people.
public therapy sessions going on.
Right.
There's just like people out here for therapy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a therapy session for most of the case. But you know what? We can't shame them. I mean, it is what it is, but we have to be able to identify the people who are there for the, therapy session versus the people that can actually take action, or the people that we can put in within the council of elders, right? It's like when people talk about patriarchy, it's not that all men are good at leading. No, it's a race, few select men or people that can lead. It just happens that more often it's also men. So the point is, one of the purposes of these conversations is actually for us to be self-aware, very attuned in real time, having the sense and clarity when we're having these discussions, to be able to pinpoint people that we can work with and people that we can't. And I think that's important because, like I said, a lot of people are here for therapy session, a public therapy session, and also a prevention from shaming or being seen as failures from the other communities. So what I mean by that is, let me give you context from the Afrosphere. Right, I also have a Afrosphere channel as well. Same thing, right? Black Americans will talk about effects of slavery, redlining, all that usual stuff. And if you don't agree with some of these people, they will think that you don't know the history. It's like, if you just knew, you would feel or think or have the same mindset as me. No, I know it's not point. At some point, you have to move and do action. Same thing with Afrosphere. You talk about how, let's say, Nigeria can have electricity and solve that problem. Someone starts bringing up white supremacy. It's the most irrelevant point to bring up, but they bring up white supremacy as the reason why. And you ask them, okay, so what can we do? No, you can't do anything. White supremacy won't let you do it. So the point is that they don't want to change or think of actual solutions that can, again, actionable. I think that's a term you use. I don't think we actually know what that word means. Actionable just means it can be done. It's like going to the to the store and buying a Snicker bar. It is a real thing that exists in this real world, and the levers and powers, the load, how much force you have to do to pull the lever is possible. And I think we have to remove solutions that are just basically out of this world, with something that's actionable, something that we can actually do. And I think, you just have to be very, very careful who you engage with, and really kind of be aware of, okay, well, what's the point? For example, in this conversation, what's the point? Maybe some people listening to this conversation will go and find unique solutions for themselves. I think most of us have agreed that the Black community doesn't really exist as a community, and it exists, as a fragment of American, greater society. My point here is, the solution here, which is actionable. At least people won't listen to me though, but go start lobbying movements and create schools like Michaela Academy. That's my solution at the community scale. And obviously, I already taken my own personal movement by moving to Africa, living there at least. This whole idea of moving is a strange idea as well. But yeah,
Michaela, go ahead.
I get it, and I should have said something earlier, and I wasn't thinking about it. I get when it comes to solutions and when it comes to actions and a blueprint to do something that would be more successful than what we have been doing, those things exist in our quote unquote Black community. Black people have put those things out there in our Black community, have actually walked people that led the horses to water, but not being able to make people drink. So the thing is, just like the comment that you put up a second ago, Ike, when they said, she has the fitness channel has 1,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. America is one of those. So she had a solution, but all of the people who wanted to be entertained whittled down to 1,000 people who actually wanted a solution. So that's the crux of a lot of this issue is a lot of people, just part of American culture is, you would take entertainment over sacrifice. So that's where a lot of this stuff is, even with our community. Even when you're talking about the slavery and Jim Crow and redlining. If you don't, it happened in all of our families. But if you don't take that information and utilize it for your best interest, to know what the policies will do to you, then it's a waste of time. But if you tell other people, hey, do this, and this, You can't make them. A lot of times what we're getting at is, yeah, there are people, SYSBM, SYCBM, the wedge in the wall that's up is basically, if I gave you all the solutions, that's not a guarantee that you'll actually put in the work to do them. So now you got people who, okay, I know you got the solutions. I know you're disciplined, and I know you have order, and I know you're going to do these things. Well, how about you do them, and then give me some of the leftovers so I can do whatever I want to do. And it's a no, we're not doing that. So you see it all the time on YouTube when, people will say it in a small sense. If you say you want this kind of content that has solutions, I give you this kind of content. What do you show up? No. But if I make content that says, man, just had a threesome, we going viral. So that's the issue.
And that is something that is kind of assumed that it's going to be less than 20% for sure of people. It's not going to draw a crowd. However, I don't have time for people who don't want to do crap. So I'm interested in whatever the tiny percent of people who want to do crap. I want to hear from them. And people who just want to pacify each other or do public therapy, I'm not really interested in that, right? So, Dr. Thunder, as we wrap up here, because it's this went really quick. We're already approaching an hour and a half, and we might go a little longer or whatever. But this is going really quick. Great conversation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking the like button. Okay, and I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people who have not subscribed to this channel already. So go ahead and subscribe. Thank you for the 43 likes, even though we only have 40 people in here. That's very, very well behaved. I'll give that to this particular space of the YouTube. They're very, very reasonable people. They tend to they tend to be less dusty than some other places. Okay, I won't say anything. But shout out to you guys. Thanks for liking the video. Please go ahead, if you have not subscribed, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Case Closed happens either here on Dr. Thunder's channel every Sunday, 4 p.m. Central Time. But here, if you want content like this, giving good conversation, actionable, practical, simple, and all that kind of stuff, go ahead.
Eastern time.
Eastern time.
4 p.m. Eastern time.
4 p.m. Eastern time.
So ask the question again.
So what I'm going to say is about the symbolism. You talk about symbolism a lot in the Black community. You talk about the first Black, right, type deal, where it's like, let's not actually solve the problem. Let's just throw a black face in the White House, or let's throw a black face in the Supreme Court. And there's so many places you can throw a first Black at. So many agencies left. Okay, so many positions. First Black that was a cripple. First Black with one eye. First Black with ashy knuckles. Whatever it may be, right? But so many of those things you could do to make people feel good about themselves. So that is about symbolism. And I'm saying here that the people who come for this. So this is not coming at community per se. But I'm saying if you are coming for SYSBM, if you're saying, hey, SYSBM, you're doing something which is against the community, or you should change it to saving the community, that kind of a thing. It's like SYSBM is bad PR for them. Because remember, whether you are SYSBM or whether you're not doesn't do anything for that kid in Chicago, because no one is doing anything. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay, whether you're doing your public therapy session on YouTube, you're not doing anything, and whether you're leaving, you're not doing anything. And by the way, these things are not mutually exclusive, is my point, which is you can leave and still quote unquote do something. There's still actionable things you could do that are not just pouring your heart out on YouTube, right? So there's a symbolism here in the sense that, okay, SYSBM is bad press, and it's like, let's bring them in line. Let's not have them say these things, as opposed to there's a real threat to these kids by somebody saying SYSBM. What do you think about that? Is this just all, that's bad, that's airing dirty laundry, that's bad press for us, it's bad symbolism, as opposed to them really actually giving a damn about some actual kids, that will be hypothetically hurt by SYSBM?
Yeah, I think people are too concerned about how stuff looks, and not not concerned enough about actual productivity, actual improvement, actual advancement. Like in large part, people would rather, they'd rather drive an expensive car than actually, have a good job, or actually, have a career that means something, and I mean, and so I think that's kind of part of the dysfunction in the Black community, is that these sort of quick fixes, or make yourself feel better right now, but it also exchanges, your future. We tend to do that kind of stuff. We tend to embrace that, and so I think this is another sort of manifestation of that. It's like, I can't have you talking this way because it makes us look bad, or or you might convince some other people of this, and even if perhaps by talking that way, it actually promotes the possibility of more advancement for Black people, right? Perhaps it's not fixing the political structure, undoing the effects of white supremacy. Perhaps it's not doing that. However, yeah. So I think that I don't know that just because you're saying the quote unquote the right kumbaya stuff, to borrow one of your favorite pejoratives there, right? Just because you're saying all the right kumbaya stuff does not mean that does not equal actual progress. And something that's really frustrating to me is our inability to have enough nuance and just understanding of just basic stuff and basic human behavior to be able to just know that. Why are we constantly, I mean, you cited, the First Blacks thing. So the full name of the video, if folks want to see it, is Celebrating First Blacks Presupposes That the Racial Integrationists Were Right. And I don't think that the racial integrationists were right. I think they were wrong. Okay? But the sort of smokescreen is, let's give you some empty symbolism, some stuff that's not actually helping you. And you get Black folks used to a steady diet of these empty symbolisms, and they think they're actually being nourished when they're not. We are not. Our community is in disarray, and it's not going to get any better. And so you really don't have much of a choice. If you're going to make something of yourself and then actually provide something of quality for your family, you must get out. You have to save yourself and your family, your immediate self, the people that you're responsible for. That's the only choice you have. That's the only choice you have. I am the community. I will do things for those people that that are actually going to use what it is that I'm able to offer them. I'm not going to, as the Bible says, don't throw pearls to swine. I mean, you look, the swine don't know what the pearls are. And I'm sorry. And not only do they not know what the pearls are, they'll aggressively attack you, now you're the problem when you were just trying to help. I mean, I don't know what else to say on that. It's like I said, I'm very frustrated that this is the case. I do think that there are some things that we can do to try to change the laws, the policies that have sort of incentivized a lot of the dysfunctional behavior. I think we can point out the behavior so that future generations can know that, hey, this behavior is not, going to pan out well. And by the way, that's not SBE. SBE is not everything. Everything is not SBE. Everything that you disagree with, everything that you have grown tired of hearing arguments for or against is not SBE. That's not what that means, by the way. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Indeed. So we're gonna have last words here, and ask you to comment on this statement along with anything else that you want to say, which is, community has never been static, right? I think God told Abraham to, leave one particular tent and go out there and found some other community, right? To establish order somewhere else, right? And that people have always moved, and they take the order with them, right? And Kaiser was mentioning the superordinate order. We talked about men and order, and then he mentioned, hey, there has to be a superordinate order above that, transcendental, platonic, true, beautiful, good God, right? And as long as you're taking that with you and you establish that somewhere, then that's another community, right? So final thoughts plus the comment on this idea of, look, community is never static. You can take the order elsewhere and reinstitute it. Obviously, you're not going to see the community in your lifetime, right? But you can found the New Jerusalem. Let me not get all preachy, well, not preachy, but let me not get all poetic, if you will. But you can found a new community in that particular sense. It is the means of saving yourself.
That's SBE, man.
It is the means of saving yourself, after all. If you're gonna, it just simply saying, I'm gonna go plant my seed in fertile soil, right? That is found in a new community, and this has happened over and over and over and over again. That this kind of Stockholm syndrome, when I'm using that now, that term, of having to stick with a particular type of deal, is just, it's not where it's at. But you may comment on that if you will, and also final thoughts, LAR, White Jesus, and then Dr. Thumb.
Thank you for having me. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna be trifling. If we want order and structure and success in our community, we might have to take God out of the equation, because for the people who we say are successful, they're really godless type of people. They're groups, Christianity and Judaism, and that's not at the head of their communities. That's just something that they say. Their actions are completely different. So if we want order and structure like that, we might have to be less religious and less spiritual, because, when you look at it, with them, God is just the excuse they use to kill somebody. It has nothing to do with growing, like, coming together and all that other stuff. It's a godless country. But other than that, we can't. I wish the phrase was each one teach one, not each one save 10. So that's the issue. But I'm done.
All right, White Jesus, can you close out, and also you may comment on that thought of community is not a static thing, it's wherever you take the order to.
Yeah, a great conversation, and yeah, community can be talked about from a woo, nuanced, as they like to say, coming to terms perspective, or it can be actionable situation. So for me, I think best thing is just to work with people that want to do action and take action that has, you know, that is projected to actually have the intended consequence, etc. And I think it's just limiting the people who you interact with, right? Because if you just expand yourself and you let anything come to you and with equal sort of power and ability to sort of almost influence you, whether it's through energy differences, you know, just giving you the negative energy of dustiness, or you can focus with people who you can actually do things with. And I said, like, I've made fun of this community in Kenya before, but I do respect how they do things. And I think if as Black people start thinking like this other community that I'm talking about right now, I think we can do well. And I think we don't even have right to do things at the highest level and you know put that solution across board. That's not necessarily the purpose. And I've always said this before: is a Black man like me, a Black man like you, a Black man like let's say Dr. Thunder, Kifaru, do things together. We make sure that we are not dusty. When our kids are grown, our kids are going to benefit from this extended network. And I think at the end of the day, I'm more willing to work with people that are willing to create a transgenerational wealth, business, finance, and on spiritual framework, rather than just having this this feeling of extending it to too many people that won't really have well, all I'm saying is your community, you can limit it to how you want it. For me, I limit it to useful people.
Mm-hmm. So doing things actionable. Dr. Thunder out there trying to change policies, going to libertarian conferences, possibly participating in local politics, such and such. Well, Dr. Thunder, what are your closing thoughts? Plus, also comment on this idea that community is not static and has never been static, and we have the DNA, the whole out of Africa thing to kind of prove it. If let me see. Or as a matter of fact, I think Dr. Thunder did step out. Did I automatically kick everyone out? Well, it seems like I did. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the close of this, and this was SYSBM versus SYCBM. And the questions we're asking is, there's this term out there, what about the children? Does this refer to a genuine concern? Is it a genuine concern for collateral damage, as Dr. Thunder put it? Or is it just merely a distraction and a guilt tactic to get you with Keisha? Distraction, guilt tactic, get you with Keisha. And if there is no order, there is no community. And if there are no men to establish that order, then what community is there to be saved? This is all, after all, it seems, a red herring, right? So, and it seems like the results of the poll, most people agree that yes, men are primarily concerned with order and that community is just a byproduct. So you can't goad men or incentivize men into this kind of let's all swim together in this soup of community feeling, have Stockholm syndrome because we're fighting against white supremacy or whatever it may be, such that, whatever it is, this feeling thing that keeps us together, when there actually is no order and, chaos reigns, if you will. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been it for Case Closed this Sunday. Every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we hold it down over here. We hold fort. Okay. And thank you again for the super chatters. I believe we had one from Solo TV 84. Okay. The GOAT in the building, and also Kosher Clinician. Go check them out. Shout out to everyone in the chat, Aaron B, Adult Supervision, and all that kind of stuff. African Booty Scratcher in the building. Shout out to you. Okay. We are gone. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity if hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting, it's not a steady bubble.
in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity, tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come get it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.